The desert range stretched out for miles under a brutal midday sun, heat shimmering above the sand in waves that distorted every distant target into a wavering blur. A group of young Marine snipers stood clustered near the firing line, joking loudly as they waited for the range to clear. Their confidence as sharp and polished as the rifles slung over their shoulders. That confidence turned to laughter the moment an old man approached carrying a rifle unlike anything they had trained with. Its stock painted a bright, almost comical shade of orange, chipped in places from decades of use. "You planning on hunting pumpkins, old-timer?" one of the younger Marines called out, drawing snickers from his companions. The old man said nothing, simply nodding toward the distant range where targets sat barely visible against the shimmering horizon. If you've ever watched someone get judged before they had the chance to prove themselves, you already sense where this story is heading and if it is pulling you in already. Keep watching, because what happened next silenced that entire firing line in a way none of them expected. His name was Earl Doss, a veteran marksman who had spent 3 decades hunting in mountain ranges most hunters avoided, honing a skill that had nothing to do with military service and everything to do with patience learned through solitude. The orange rifle, custom built by his own hands years ago, carried sentimental value the young Marines could not begin to understand. Painted that color simply so he would never lose it in dense brush during hunting season. Staff Sergeant Miguel Torres, overseeing the exercise that day, noticed the mockery and considered intervening. But something about the old man's calm demeanor made him pause and watch instead. "Mind if I take a shot, Sergeant?" Earl asked quietly, gesturing toward the 4,000-meter target reserved for specialized, long-range training exercises far beyond typical qualification standards. Torres hesitated, glancing at the distant target barely visible even through advanced scopes calibrated for extreme distances. "That's not a beginner's shot, sir. Most of my Marines haven't even qualified at half that range." Earl simply smiled, settling into a prone position with movements that seemed almost meditative. Ignoring the snickers still lingering behind him, he adjusted his scope slowly, accounting for wind, humidity, and the Earth's rotation with calculations that belonged more to a scientist than a hunter, muttering softly under his breath as though reciting a prayer only he understood. The young Marines quieted, as they watched him settle completely still, breathing slowing into a rhythm that seemed almost unnatural, his weathered finger resting gently against the trigger, without any of the nervous tension they expected from someone his age. Minutes passed in silence, the kind that stretches uncomfortably long when everyone senses something important is about to happen. Then, with barely a whisper of movement, Earl fired. The round traveled for nearly 6 seconds before the distant target rang out with a clean, unmistakable hit, dead center, at a distance most of the Marines had only read about in training manuals. The firing line erupted into stunned silence, disbelief spreading across faces at moments earlier had been laughing. Word of the shot spread through the base faster than anyone could have predicted, eventually reaching General Harold Whitfield, who arrived personally to witness the recorded distance data himself. He studied the numbers twice, then looked toward Earl, still standing quietly beside his orange rifle as though nothing remarkable had occurred. "Who trained you?" the general asked, genuine curiosity replacing any skepticism. Earl shrugged modestly, wiping dust from his weathered hands. "Nobody, sir. Just years of hunger and a mountain that didn't forgive mistakes." The general's respect deepened instantly, recognizing in Earl's answer the kind of discipline that no institution could manufacture, only time and necessity could forge. Torres, humbled by what he had witnessed, approached Earl afterward, apologizing quietly for the earlier mockery his Marines had shown. Earl waved it off gently, understanding that youth often mistook flash for substance until proven otherwise. "Wasn't always this steady," he admitted with a faint smile. "Took losing a lot of meals before I learned patience mattered more than pride." The young Marines, gathered now with genuine curiosity rather than ridicule, asked question after question, eager to understand the calculations and discipline behind a shot that defied everything they thought they knew about long-range shooting. Earl spent the rest of the afternoon teaching them, patiently explaining wind, reading, breath control, and the quiet stillness required to master distances most considered impossible. By evening, the orange rifle that had drawn laughter hours earlier now rested respectfully against a rack, admired rather than mocked, a symbol of humility rewarded through quiet mastery. General Whitfield ensured Earl's achievement was properly documented, inviting him to return and mentor future snipers whenever his health allowed. Earl accepted humbly, insisting he was simply an old hunter who got lucky, though everyone present that day knew luck had nothing to do with it. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that true skill rarely announces itself loudly, then don't let it pass by unnoticed. Share it with someone who still believes patience beats pride. Subscribe for more stories like this one, and tell us in the comments about a time someone underestimated proved everyone wrong.